Hello everyone, welcome back to my Elden Ring journal sketchbook playthrough thing. This is going to be part 3. We are doing Ranni's questline called Age of the Stars, I guess. We left off at the ruin-strewn precipice, but I went back here to go actually talk to Ranni. Which at the time, you know, she's still pretending to be Ranni until she finally tells you her real name, which is Ranni. And she talks to us about her squad here. You got Blythe, you got E.G., Celavis. She's even got this dragon hanging out in her front yard who, if you actually fight it and get it to a certain amount of health, it just kind of nopes the fuck out. But you get to fight it later. Anyways, you talk to Ranni and you enlist in her services. And yeah, you talk to Blythe and he tells you he's going to the Mistwood over in Siofra. And so... yeah, you even talk to Celavis, but you don't talk to them, you talk to their spirit versions of them, because they're all doing like this Elden Ring Zoom call or whatever. But either way, you end up going, if you want to progress the story, you have to go to the Mistwood. So while I was over here in Limgrave, I caught up with my buddy Bach, and I was like, how's it going, buddy? And we went off on a sort of a tangent little adventure where we were rune farming and stuff. And once I came back here, I realized that to get to Siofra, you have to go down this elevator. And I told Bach to stay behind because I didn't want him to get hurt. So I was like, this is going to be a solo operative. I'm just going to go in here. I'll be back, and I'll give you a gift when I get back. And later on, I talked to him one more time during this quest. But either way, I go down the elevator, and it's really messed up because it's like a 10-minute Disneyland ride where you just go straight down, but you were watching like these crazy buildings that are upside down and architecture is all wonky looking, and eventually you get to the bottom, but the whole time you're just wondering like, what am I gonna find down here? Do I really want to go this way? And so I'm ready to just like mess up whatever crazy things down there. Turns out what you find down there are some priest guys, which are claymen. Like, they were deformed ancient priests from a different time, an era way before the Erdtree. They got like bubble magic. I guess they were some sort of envoys or whatever. Either way, you kind of go through, you like mow them down, and eventually, they also look like swamp things, by the way. I don't know, maybe that was an influence or something. And you get past them, and eventually you get to a section where there's ancestral followers again that like to shoot arrows at you the whole time. And even if you don't like mess with them, they're just constantly like trying to sharpshoot you. So at some point, you know, you're running around with tons of arrows. You look like a little Christmas tree, like a little Elden Christmas tree running around. And yeah, that was kind of annoying, but at this point I kind of got used to it. The thing is, I didn't like to actually fight these guys because I don't have any, we don't have any beef. I don't have beef with these guys. So I wanted to squash the beef while I was down here, but they just kept shooting stuff at me. There were these like energy balls that also zapped me with like electricity and stuff. So that wasn't cool. That wasn't fun. But once you figure out what's going on, you can kind of get a handle on the situation. But the important thing was you have to go talk to Blythe over here, and he's hanging out over here. He's looking. He's like, I can see bloody Nocron from here. And the problem is he doesn't know how to get there. So he's like telling me we have to like squeeze some information out of Celavis. But the thing is, I was like, Blythe, come on, man. You look super majestic and imposing. Shouldn't you do that? Because to be honest, I really didn't want to talk to Celavis because I didn't like the way he talked to me the first time. I was like, this guy's rude. I think he's got issues and I don't want to deal with him. So later on, I do confront Celavis and I tell Blythe that's going to be all right. I'll tell him what's up. And yeah, he tells me to regulate. And so I leave Blythe and I hang out in Siofra for a little while and realize that there's these torches you got to light. So I run around with Torrent, right? And once you light all the torches, it's a pain in the butt. You have to get to... what you do is you walk up these stairs, and up here you find this rotting Wendigo looking corpse thing. And it's basically an ancestral spirit that once you touch it, if you try to touch it, you kind of get transported into a different world, a different realm or something, like a different arena, which is where you fight this dude, the ancestral spirit guy. I guess there's two versions of these guys. One you can find around Siofra Aqueduct, and then so when I start this boss battle, the music changes and it gets all like majestic and regal and, you know, ethereal, and you're just like, it's actually really relaxing. But at the same time, you're fighting off this really cool looking beast, and I was kind of conflicted. I don't really want to kill this thing. Like, why am I being forced to fight this guy? Like, what did he do to me? Why am I at odds with this guy? But I guess it's all part of the lore. You're kind of fighting a primordial version of a different time, and for whatever reason, Elden Ring is really good at making you kill stuff you don't want to kill. And you just gotta do what you gotta do, man. So once you get past there, and at the end of this Shiofra section, you get to another elevator that takes you back to Caelid, which is terrible, because right out the gates you get confronted by this big rune bear. Like, if you go this way, a certain direction, you'll find him, and he'll get really pissed at you. So he'll try to like mess you up right away. And I think he did kind of kill me on accident. I just didn't realize how strong he was. And there's also these golem guys with bow and arrows that are magic blue shot arrows, I guess. And I was on torrent and I was riding past them and I didn't kill him, which was a mistake, because once you get up here where the giant jar is, these guys can still shoot at you. So you really want to take care of these guys before you do all this stuff. You gotta fight the magic, or the Great Jar lets you summon some people you gotta fight, because he thinks he's like all high and mighty, and you have to prove yourself and whatnot. So he doesn't say anything. If you're like me, you find a way to cheese these guys. You can make them fall off the edge of the cliff by hanging out on this tree branch that's conveniently on the side of the cliff there. So they'll fall to their dooms if you're patient and you do the right stuff. And the Great Jar just looks at you. He's like, very impressive cheese you got there. And so he'll give you 3 dots and a great arsenal charm or whatever, and that allows you to get more equip load or whatever. So it's worth doing that, I guess. Also in Caelid, I decided to go back to main Caelid section, and one of the things I've noticed was there was this stupid ass troll that hangs out on this cliff edge, and he just lobs rocks at you from a distance, because he hates his life, which makes sense. I mean, he hangs out in Caelid all day, so he's really kind of, in a bad mood all the time, and so he attacks you with rocks, and I'm just like, I've had enough of his shit, so I didn't even go up there to fight him. I just went away. But the problem was that anywhere you go in Caelid, there's these other enemies that'll find you, and they're kind of like wasps. They kind of, once you get one of them to fight you, all the other ones, like, it's almost like they give you a Caelid pheromone, and they all kind of just jump on you, and no matter where you go, you'll find another one, and it kind of creates this like pinball effect where, just like you get different mobs attacking you, so you're constantly stirring up a hornet's nest here, is what I'm saying. And the freaking Kindred of Rot also hang out in a bunch of like almost little squads, and they kind of spit at you, which is kind of why I was hiding around, trying to stealth my way through this whole section just to get to, I wanted to get to Castle Redmane, which is Radahn's castle, but on my way there I stumbled upon Decaying Dragon X-Ikes, and he's got like tons of rot on him. He's like one of the dragons here that actually got like rotted during the rotting situation here at Caelid, and he's got like no eyeballs, so like he kind of is blind, I guess, but he's straight up aggressive, and he spews like rot at you and stuff like that. So I had to put him down. I had to put him out of his misery. I guess he's like protecting the Dragon Communion area here, so I wasn't into Dragon Communion, so I felt bad for killing him. But you gotta, if a dragon's attacking you, what are you gonna do? I didn't want to run away. I wanted to finish him off because I didn't want to fight him again. And then, anyways, when you get to the actual castle, there's this teleport gate that you can take, and it'll take you across this bridge, which is barricaded. So I had to do that, and you can clear the castle section, but I didn't do that because I didn't want to waste my time doing that stuff. I wanted to get straight to the Radahn festival, because my buddy Blythe had showed up here, and he was hanging out with this guy Castellan Jaren, who was really enthusiastic and announcing the festival and stuff. And he's got like a poop emoji for a hat, and I don't know what a Castellan is, but for whatever reason he's kind of like telling you about Radahn's history at the festival and how he used to be like really powerful, and now he's just like a former version of it, like a weaker version of himself. And so here are the people. Here are the main players of the Radon Festival. You got one of the people you talk to in the beginning before the festival starts is Finger Maiden Theralina, who's, I guess she's being puppeted by Celavis or something like that, because she didn't say anything to you. And yeah, all she does is heal you during this fight. So if you do summon her, she does heal you, but she's basically useless in terms of fighting. You get to summon Jaren. You can summon Okina, I guess, too, because he's like all about trying to find a worthy opponent. You got Lionel the Lionhearted. I forget why he's here, but also Patches shows up, and then he leaves right away. So that's Patches. I mean, that kind of makes sense. And then you got Great Horn Tragoth, who's just a straight baller. He's always, you know, useful. And then you got Blythe also shows up in this fight. And Alexander is here too, but he's kind of, you know, he's just trying his best. He's doing his best jar thing, and you know, you got to give him props for at least showing up to fight. But yeah, he gets his ass kicked pretty bad right away. He says, you know, one hit was all it took. In the beginning, during the fight, you realize that there's Radon's up on this hill and he's lobbing arrows at you, like way too many to be coming from just one bow. I guess he knows how to shoot like a ton of them at one time. And I didn't realize you had to use like all these armaments for cover and stuff in the beginning, so I kept like getting barraged real bad. And you know, when you summon everybody, once you get past this part, you can summon everyone and they can all tank damage from him. But like, I didn't realize I didn't want to get close to him, so I tried to just summon everyone over and over again until his health went down. I did manage eventually to get his health down enough that he went into his second phase. And in his second phase, he kind of jumps up into the air and his horse goes underground. According to Zuli the Witch, the horse kind of follows you around. And so when Radon's up in the air and using like GPS coordinate to do an airstrike on you, he kind of, you know, hones in on you, on his horse, and kind of follows wherever you are. So that's how he always finds out where you are. And then he kind of slams back down to earth like a comet. And eventually, you know, well, here I show how Patches kind of shows up and then, you know, nopes the fuck out real quick. And then here I show how Alexander got fucked up, and then Blythe is all like into the fight, and you know, he's like, this is sick. And then eventually we beat him, and you get to see this falling star shoot down. Like the color of the sky changes too, and once the star falls down over at Limgrave or whatever, that's the end of the battle. And here's a little bit of info about Starscourge Radon. I guess his name is Starscourge Radon because he was holding back the stars, like the stars that you know, have to do with Ranni's fate and Miquella's fate and stuff. And I guess what happened was that there was a deal made, or a vow that Miquella made with Radon. I don't know if he like was under Miquella's spell to accept the vow, but he was promised as his consort. So that's why Melania went to Caelid to force him to die and go to the Land of Shadow and become Miquella's promised consort. And so she whispers something when right before she blooms into the Ionian bloom, and you know, devastates Caelid with her rot. But yeah, that's all part of the DLC. I don't know if I should get too much into that. Oh yeah, there's also, here's Leonard's, the freaking raisin horse. Like he looks tiny, but he's actually twice as, like almost twice as big as Torrent. And he's all shriveled up and stuff because he's probably like all dehydrated, needs his electrolytes because he's been hanging out with Radon in this desert for a while, this Caelid Raw area. And so obviously he's not going to be, you know, in tip-top shape. He's looking like he's seen better days. And I was looking at his weapons. He's got that bow and arrow that can shoot like 1 billion arrows, and he's got these great swords that, you know, have this gravity magic inscribed insignia stuff, because I guess Radon learned gravity magic from the Alabaster Lords, so he's got like the ability to repel and to attract and stuff. And you get his great rune and all that, you know, pretty normal stuff. After the fight, Blythe is like, that was a sick way to fight, eh? And so I give him like a, you know, a fist bump, and he's all like, let's go to where, you know, the star bit the earth or whatever, which is where the comet hit. And I also talked to Alexander because I felt bad for Alexander the Jar. He was pretty gung-ho about beating Radon, and you know, it didn't really go the way he wanted. He kind of gave up right away, but at least he admits his failure, and he realizes he can pick up the corpses of all the dead soldiers there and, you know, level up a little bit. So I gave him some words of comfort. I told him, look, Jarman, I know you're trying. I see that you're you know, at least giving it a shot. That's all we ever ask. And then eventually I head back to Limgrave and I do my thing, where I kind of just look at what the damage was, because I was like, do I even want to go down here? There's still like shards of this meteor that are floating in the air because of gravity distortion or something. And so the thing is, it conveniently made like a little path that you can follow down to Nokron. And so you hop down there and you find your way there, but I was too dumb and I actually accidentally jumped off the wrong ledge and died. But you do end up going to Nokron, the Eternal City, and over here you find these fallen Hawk soldiers, which is, I guess, a Berserk reference to the Knights of the Hawk or something like that. They're these naked dudes that look straight up, you know, malformed, and like they got like blood on their hands, like they've been digging in the sand or something. They just look pretty screwed up, ghoulish looking. They got holes in their heads and they got ghost flame torches, like a little skull there that's spewing ghost flame. And yeah, those guys aren't fun. They can really gang up on you and do some serious damage, so you gotta watch out. There's also these other Nox looking dudes. They got like this mace thing. When you get through this whole section, eventually you pop out here and you can head over to where there's a mimic guy you gotta fight. These mimic guys are basically these silver looking, I guess what happened was these guys were doing something. They were experimenting with technology they weren't supposed to. They were like, you know, Sam Altman ChatGPTing in the lands between, and they got banished underground because they were supposed to be, you know, trying to make gods and creating weapons like this Finger Slayer blade. So they got banished by something or someone over here, and their creations are these like mimic technology and stuff. Like everything's made out of this silver stuff, so I guess that's their tech. And you get to fight yourself, and it wasn't too bad for me because I was already really weak, and so, you know, I didn't have to worry about, you know, taking too much damage. I was too busy, you know, like fighting off myself in a way that it just wasn't a factor because I was already weak. So if you are really good, this is really difficult, but you can make it as difficult as you want. You can get all naked and, you know, F yourself off here. And there is, so this is a bridge here. If you go over here, this is the bridge, and you end up in the Ancestral Woods, and that's where you find one of Radagon's red wolves. And this one is a lot easier to beat. It's like a lesser wolf version, but you know, I didn't want to fight it. I just wanted to give it a nice little pet. And you do have to kill it. You can't actually pet it, but yeah, in my mind this is what was going on. And then there's more of these people. You gotta jump onto a roof over here. You kind of go off to the side and you end up in the rooftops of Nokron, and you get followed around, you know, stalked by these giant ball things that are made out of the same silver material that is prevalent in this land. And you can hide behind stuff to deal with these guys because it's worth killing them, because they give you larval tears, and larval tears are a very good thing to have, so you can rebirth yourself. And oh yeah, eventually you get to the Finger Slayer blade, which is basically the treasure of Nokron that you're trying to get. You have to fight off one of those troll guys, and there's this big statue of this weird, creepy, experimental god lord thing that they tried to create down here, which is why they got banished down here probably. And so the Finger Slayer blade looks kind of like the relic sword. Once you get it, you're like, oh, this is just a relic sword, but it's all messed up and twisted up. Because I guess this is what they use to kill a god. You have to use like the backbone of a demigod or something like that to actually kill another god, or something crazy like that. I don't know, not really sure. I went back and confronted Celavis, Chris Hansen style, and I was like, look man, you've been doing some junk. You've been doing things that you're not supposed to. Like, you've been all shady since the beginning. You've been rude. And anyway, you find out he's got like this secret lair, this little like lair where he has a bunch of puppet people that he's been messing with, and he's got a bed. So he's got a bed and puppets, so you can, you know, put two and two together, find out what he's up to. There's also parts of his quest where you have to give potions to people like Nefeli Lu. You can give her a potion or give it to Gideon and let him know what's going on. And there's this idea, I think, of floating around that maybe Pydia's mind controlling him like a puppet. Like, he's a puppet master, but he's being puppeted by another person, so it kind of makes it seem, it's all kind of conjecture, but I think he might not be who who you think he is. When you do confront him, though, like there is one option to give a potion like that to Ranni, and Ronnie's like a doll, so she can't drink a potion, so she's like catches on pretty quick that, you know, it's kind of a dumb thing, like Selva's trying to, you know, puppet a puppet that's already being puppeted. It just gets really stupid at some point, but I don't know, this whole quest gets really ridiculous. Also, I went to talk to EG and I was confronting him. I was like, hey, what happened to Blythe? Where is he? Why didn't he show up to the rendezvous point? And so EG tells me that Blythe potentially will be going crazy soon because he's serving two different masters. He's serving Ranni and the Greater Will, and you can't do that. It creates like a, you know, dividing by zero situation, and or some kind of like endless loop of badness. And so he put him in an Everjail over at the Forlorn Hound Everjail, which is over here. And so I free him from the Everjail, and I was like, Blythe, you're not gonna turn bad, are you? He's like, no, I could never go bad. Like, Ronnie's a part of me, I'm a part of her being. And I was like, look, don't be a bad wolf, everything's gonna be good. I'm gonna trust you on this. And I like west sided out of there, and I made it over to the Carrion Study Hall. And you put the inverted statue that Ranni gives you after you give her the Finger Slayer blade, and everything gets flipped upside down, I guess, kind of inverted. And so up is down and down is up now. And here you get to platform your way around some chandelier looking stuff, and there's a bunch of fingers, these little finger creeper things. Also, Preceptor Miriam is up here as well. You can fight her off. If you do everything correctly and you go the right way, you will eventually get to the Divine Tower Bridge area. And here you get kind of confronted by this fat-looking noble, Godskin noble guy. And he's got like he's got an interesting garb made out of faces, and he's kind of there to get the curse mark of death or something. Or he's here because of what Ranni did, maybe, and trying to do something regarding the curse mark of death or something, because I guess they're interested in killing gods or something like that. So when Ranni was here, this is her, I guess when you get to the top of the tower, you find her dead corpse, her actual body, which I originally thought she was burned, but in reality I think she got petrified. She got turned to stone somehow, maybe the same way that the people in Noxtello got turned to stone or something, because I don't know, her body doesn't look burned. It looks like it got turned to stone. And she also still has quite a bit of cake, and she just got a strip, like she's pretty thick for, you know, a corpse. And yeah, it doesn't make sense. I really would like to know what she looked like before this, though. While I was here, though, I went back to Ainsel River, and I wanted to go into the elevator area, but I got like stopped by this golem dude, and I had to kill him. And also behind him was a graven mass face thing, big. I had to fight that off, and once you deal with that, you can go in there, and once you get down there, you get you find out that there's a infestation problem under the Lands Between. These giant ants are kind of running the show down there. They've kind of taken over certain sections, and they have lairs and queens and nests and stuff, and tons of dead bodies from the Eternal City people, probably, that they made victims of. And you make your way through to the this underground section, which kind of reminds me, like there's ruins, like kind of like the old palace ruins there, and you find Elden John again. There's a lot of these claymen there too, and they got these meteor shard spears. Eventually you can get past that, and You will find some basilisks in certain areas as well, so you have to be really careful about these guys. They kind of suck. Oh yeah, there was this random hermit merchant dude that was hanging out here under one of the malformed stars, and he was like, "Oh, what is that? Is this a new customer?" Like he was like he thought it was weird that there was a customer there. I was like, "What do you expect, dude? You're like hanging out under an eldritch star beast like creature thing that you expect to have customers just hang out in this secret underground section? Like, why would you set up shop there?" I don't know. These merchants never make sense to me most of the time. And so once you platform your way through, you get behind the malformed star, you're able to kill it. There's two of these. This is the second one, but the other one's over here. And there's also, you get past a certain area that you find the queen's nest, and you can kill the queen here. Yeah, there's just tons of dead red bodies everywhere. And here I was looking more into like the details of the face of the malformed star. It's funny, it's got like Lusat's type of crystal skull orb thing. It's got a really cute little button nose. It's got 6 fingers instead of 5, and like kind of like 2 sets of teeth almost. Yeah, I also found out what Elden John looks like completely. Like before I only knew like this much of him. Now I know what everything looks like. I drew a complete diagram of that, and then I was looking at these Noxtella looking lords, created giant lord people who look like they could use some hydration as well. Everything in here is really petrified and dehydrated, and they're sitting on these giant thrones. I think I found like 3 or 4 of these guys. And they also happen to experiment with trying to create dragons down here. So the Noxtella Dragonkin, these guys are just like failed attempts at creating dragons. And I don't know, they're just kind of sad, pathetic attempts. Didn't really work out, I guess. You get to fight one of those at the end of this section. Anyways, I meet up with my boy Bach over, I think still in Limgrave somewhere. And I gave him a golden needle because I was like, I have some for you. Forgot to give it to you. So I gave him the golden needle, and he's like, "Oh my god, a golden needle? I've never seen a golden needle." And he gets all excited, and he feels like he's not worthy of it, but I tell him, "Look, man, I want you to make me the drippiest dripped out tarnished guy you've ever seen." And so I trust him. I'm like, "Dude, you can do it, Bach." And I give him like a purpose, and you know, I feel pretty good about that. So I leave him to his own devices, and I move over to Ranni's Rise, because that section used to be closed off, and once you get past a certain point, that area opens up, and you can head up to the top, and you get teleported right away. Although I was really hesitant, I was like, "Oh no, not another teleporter." And I ended up at Ainsel River, Maine, which is another way to get to Noxtella Eternal Cities. So you keep confronting different, you know, Noxtella people, and more Mimic tier people, more, you find more of these petrified corpses, and yeah, the architecture there is very much reminiscent of the original Eternal Noxtella cities, but these are the Eternal cities, so I'm like, what's the difference? I don't really know. They all kind of look the same, so I was like really confused. Also, for some reason, they can ride ants in this section. I guess maybe they're under mind control, because if you parry them and knock them off, they lose their mind control because their eyes stop glowing, and then they start attacking the riders, and you're just like, oh, they weren't really, you know, subservient, like willing steeds. So that was something interesting. When you get down here, you start, there's a large section, and you get a lot of items and stuff, but eventually you get down here, and the items that I found interesting were the Dark Moon talisman thing that gives you memory slots, I guess, and this one gives you a memory slot, but this one is something you have to get after you get the discarded palace key. But I wanted to draw them together because they all look kind of like similar and different, like they have very similar stuff, and I think they might be connected. Also, I was looking at these putrefied corpses again because I think that they're important because you find them all over the place. And yeah, so you end up getting a Ranni doll at some point, like a little Ranni doll, but if you try to talk to it, it won't say anything. You have to talk to it like a few times, and then it eventually caves in, and she's like, "Oh, a dogged fellow, aren't we?" And she gets all like, you know, sassy Ranni, and she tries to tell you that you have to perform a service as recompense, and I'm just like, why? Like, what the hell? Like, what did I do? She's like, the cat's out the bag. I'm like, cat is out the bag? There's no cats in this game. What are you talking about? How do you know about cats? And then eventually you realize that she tells you about how Blythe is, you know, susceptible to being controlled by the greater will or whatever, because he was a failed experiment as a form of control by the greater will to make sure she doesn't do what she's doing. But obviously she found a way around it. So Blythe has become a baleful shadow in this area, and you have to fight him, which I didn't want to do, but you know, you gotta do what you gotta do again. And so I fight him in this area, and there's like rot in certain sections. I'm like, what's going on here? Yeah, I eventually get through this area pretty easily because he's not that big of a deal to fight. When you do kill him though, I gave him a hug because I was like, dude, bye Blythe, I'm sorry I had to kill you, buddy. But it wasn't really Blythe, it was kind of just his shadow version of, like, a weird version of himself. Also, you get the discarded palace key after you beat him, and Ranni kind of like tells you that you should tell Blythe and Iji that she loves them. She doesn't mention Celavis, because who the hell would love Celavis at this point? She's obviously onto his, she understands that he's kind of straight up messed up. But Iji, yeah, I don't know what his deal is either at this point. I don't know if he's actually a good guy or bad guy, but I guess he is good still. From this section, you can go over to the Lake of Rot, and in this place, you can find Immunizing Horn Charm version 2, like +2, and then you can also find Flame, or you can use Flame Cleanse Me to rid yourself of rot, but you do it at the expense of HP and some FP or whatever, or not FP. The point is, you can use these things like the Preserving Bolus to get through this section, because you're gonna get rot buildup no matter what. And if you wear the mushroom armor that you can get over in Caelid in a certain section, it also helps. So having all this stuff kind of makes this section a little bit easier. You might want to get all this stuff before you go in here. Crossing the Lake of Rot, if you beeline it straight for a certain area, you'll just get across it real quickly. But if you want to get all the items and you want to fight this dragonkin guy, and there's an alabaster lord, there's some basilisks. If you really want to clear out this section, you gotta prepare a little bit and make sure you're geared up. And if you do beat this guy, there's also if you go to the Grand Cloister, there's a ulcerated tree spirit over here, and he's guarding this scorpion stinger. And there's also a bunch of Kindred of Rot, which after the DLC, it's kind of interesting. These guys are not what I thought they were. I guess now they are part of I don't want to spoil it, but they're actually not, you know, as terrible as I thought. But either way, once you get past all that, you can hop onto this coffin taxi thing, where if you get in it, it'll just go off this cliff waterfall edge. And I don't know why that's a thing here, but that's how you find your way through to Astel, the natural born of the void. Natural born in this case meaning bastard, I think. I'm not really sure, but for whatever reason, this is one of the stars. Like, I guess stars in this game are just like outer god type of creatures, like some other like versions of life, aliens basically. And they kind of just like land on the lands between, and they start to influence the lands in their own ways. And I guess this one, there's like 3 different phases of life that they can take on. Like the first version of iteration of them is the Falling Star Beast, which you can find in different areas. This one I found in Celia Crystal Tunnel. You can find the one that we found earlier was the Malformed Star, which is like an intermediate version. And then the final form, in this case, would be like Astel, the natural born of the void version of it. So I don't know if there's any others, but these are the ones we find in the game. And yeah, they're kind of like these tarantula hawk orby infested caterpillars with 6 fingers. Yeah, pretty cool looking. Pretty hard Pretty hard boss though. I had trouble with that one. Once you get past all that, you get the discarded palace key, you get the moon ring and all that, and you get your way, you find your way up to the Moonlight Altar, and there's this cathedral there, which is called Manus Celeste. I have a theory that this place is where certain people got married, like maybe Radagon, Ranala, maybe Ranni was going to get married to Godwyn here or something. I think this is like a ceremonial marriage ground of some kind that got demolished by maybe a doula or something, because this dragon shows up. It's the dragon that you fought in the beginning, comes back, and here it assaults you, and you kind of can take it on or not. But if you decide to, you can fight it, or you can just go into the hole. But before you do that, you kind of want to head over to an Everjail, where one of the ringleaders of the Black Knife Assassins is there, and you can fight them. You can do this puzzle with the wise beast dog people, and once you get past all that, you can head down here, and you will find Ranni hanging out as a like completely unclothed doll, I guess. You find she's just the puppet, and if you give her the moon ring here, because she's hanging out with her dead fingers, which are all like, you know, carpal tunnel, like been through a freaking lawnmower looking. If you give her the moon ring, she will give you the great sword, dark moon great sword or whatever, and she will become Ranni the witch again, and she will tell you that she's very pleased with your performance and all that, and you're like, really, that's all I get? Just that's it? And then she just disappears. She vanishes into thin air like sparkle dust, and you're just like, well, what the fuck did I just do all that for? And you feel a little used, but it's just the way of the maidenless, I guess. It's kind of what I expect nowadays. By the way, if you go back to Ranni's Rise, that's where you'll find Blythe there, and he's not happy at all. He's kind of pretty messed up. So I guess he did go a little psycho. But in between all that, I think he was confronted by a Black Knife Assassin as well, or a few of them, and they kind of went at it, I think, or maybe it's not clear exactly what happened, but they're dead. So I have a theory that maybe Blythe killed them, or maybe they were protecting Blythe from something else, but we don't know what that is, because also Celavis is dead at this point. I mean, before that, he dies as soon as you give Ranni the Fingerslayer blade, and then EG gets killed by somebody, maybe them too. So maybe they were trying to kill everyone that was involved with Ranni's uprising or whatever. And yeah, I feel bad because I had to kill Blythe as well. I put him out of his misery because he's all straight up berserker version now, and the only good thing is you actually get his armor at this point, so that was kind of like a sort of a, you know, it made it a little bit okay because you get to now have furry armor, and if you play your cards right, you can use him as a mimic. If you wear his armor, you kind of you can pretend like he's still serving, you know, hanging out with you as a buddy. But I mean, there is another way to keep Blythe alive, I think, if you don't do certain things, but I don't know, this is just kind of what ended up happening. I ended up killing him. And also during a lot of this stuff, there was this, I kept finding Melina talking about, in Marika's own words, at certain cathedrals and stuff. She would be like, would you like to know about this or that about Marika? And she tells you in Marika's own words, this and that, revealing a little bit about the lore, which makes me think that Melina, or I guess now I know that she's related to Mesmer, so she might be Mesmer's sister, little sister, and Marika is her mom. And this whole time, she's got one eye because of Mesmer only has one eye, and Marika puts the eye in there, or something about she serves Marika because of the one eye, and the other eye's closed for a different reason. I don't know. It used to be like she was just the Gloam-eyed queen and that was it, but now it's like some people were speculating that Melina and Ranni are somehow connected, but I don't know. I don't believe that theory anymore. So back then, when I did this, I was thinking about all this stuff, but now I kind of have a different idea of what's going on, or makes more sense now. Also, I went back to Mohg's Palace, and now after the DLC, all this stuff has changed in my mind. Mohg's Palace is this place where Albinorics are like turning red because they're covered in blood. They're constantly hanging out with Mohg, and they're being you know, transitioned into Moog people. And there's also these monstrous crows that are straight up just growing like tumors and stuff on them, and they look pretty messed up. You can rune farm these for tons of runes and level up pretty easily in this area. If you got like a bow and arrow and you shoot this guy from a distance, he keeps falling off a cliff. So you don't have to like actually kill him. You have to lure him off a cliff. I don't know if you can still do that anymore though. And then so Moog is responsible for stealing Mikola from the Haligtree, and he was in a cocoon at that point. So he brings the cocoon to Moog's palace and leaves it there. And that's the withered arm that's hanging out of the cocoon. And Moog is a weird dude. He's like an Omen, brother of Morgott, and they're twins as well, I think. And he's got a horn that goes right into one of his eyes. So I always thought that his horn was poking his brain and turning him kind of crazy, and that's why he was doing all this weird stuff. But he's influenced by a formless mother god who's into blood magic and stuff, so that's why he's got bloody fingers, and the white masks are following him. They're all very much into the whole blood cult. And it used to be that Moog was called the Moglester because he was infatuated with Mikola, but now it turns out that he was being mind controlled, or you know, seduced by Mikola in a way. So he became the Moglested instead of the Moglester, which is pretty messed up, because Mikola wanted to use his body to so that Radahn's soul could inhabit it after we kill him, and he goes to the lands between and all that stuff in the DLC. All kind of crazy, like nobody saw that coming. And he's got this trident looking thing. He also grows wings in a second phase if you fight him. Yeah, here's Mikola's cocoon. You find out that he's got this ring now, or he had this ring, so it's definitely, this is Mikola's cocoon form from the Haligtree that got ripped out. I guess Mikola failed in trying to make the Haligtree a thing, because he was trying to make the Haligtree a thing, but he failed, so he went to plan B, which was doing this whole Moog Radahn consort thing, and eventually we end up making that fail as well. So we're constantly getting in the way of his messed up, devious plans. This guy's a really creepy dude. He's got some issues, but I mean, the greater will was messed up from the very beginning, so can't really blame him. Anyways, back to the base game. I went back to Siofra Aqueduct, and here you can find Darian's brother Devin, which is the Hunter of the Dead's brother, the Beholder version of him. So these two twins are actually one and the same. They got one soul but two bodies, and one of them is the silver guy and one of them's the golden guy because of the golden order. Like, one of them's really into that, and the other one is more into the silver tier city people. Like, he's more influenced by that, I think, maybe. Anyways, Fia kills Darian and you can have his armor after she kills him, and you can give this armor to Devin, and Devin takes the armor and goes back and kills Fia, because you can give Devin the armor here at the aqueduct, and he will also fight along with you with these twin gargoyles, which are mirroring these twins, like twin gargoyles, and these twins are there, so it's all kind of trying to be, you know, poetic. Either way, there's also another coffin that this one, instead of going down, it floats up, and it's got like inscribed cipherpata type stuff going on. It's really cool. It takes you up here takes you to the deep root depths, which is where you find this finger reader crone, and she's all sad because of Godwin's messed up corpse and everything that happened to him. So she's all sad, and then there's this other Crucible Knight here who doesn't really have this sword. He has it's this, I think this is Crucible Knight Siluria, and they've got a spear of horns or something. Anyways, the Crucible Knights, there's like 16 of them, I think, and 2 of them are captains, and the other 14 are spread out along the lands between, and they used to be a big group, but now they're all separated. But yeah, they're all part of the Crucible era. And then here I was looking at Godwin's corpse, looking like a Fiji mermaid, mutated eldritch creature that, you know, I feel bad for it, but I also don't really, I don't know, it's hard to feel anything because it's like such a malformed creature thing. And it confuses me because I thought Godwin was under the castle at Stormvale, but I guess that's just another like part of him, another version of him or something. I'm not really sure what's going on. I just know that this is supposedly his actual original form, body, and then everything just kind of spread from here. I don't even know how he got down here, or if this was originally where he got killed, but yeah, Fia's here with him. And the thing is that when Devin tries to kill Fia, like when Devin inhabits the armor, he actually becomes the silver version, so he kind of leans back. And when you see him talking about Fia and killing her, like he kind of takes over, and Darian's gold armor kind of goes into the back, and it looks like he's leaning back, but in reality it's just him controlling this part of the armor, because he's now Devin. And he's also got this inseparable sword. So the thing is that he had Godwin's hollow brand, and when Fia realized this, she had to kill him to take the hollow brand so that she could create the mending rune of the Death Prince. And so that's why she kills him. But then Devin gets really mad and ends up killing her for revenge, because she calls her the Rotten Witch, because she's straight up sleeping with corpses and stuff, and that's messed up. And yeah, this whole thing gets crazy, because you can also do this thing where you fight Fia's protectors. She's got like a bunch of people that follow her or help her out, like Lionel the Lionhearted and stuff, and you can fight all them, or you can fight Lich Dragon Fortisax, which is what I did. I ended up fighting this Lich Dragon because I found out that Godwin and the dragons like fought each other, and then they became buddy pals after fighting each other. They had like so much respect for each other that Fortisax actually tried to inhibit his death root growth or whatever, like try to stop it, and in the process became a Lich Dragon. So it's pretty messed up, like that the dragon was willing to put itself through that, and you have to end up putting it out of its misery. And it's got like this crazy red lightning magic thing going on. It's a cool fight, but it's a low health dragon, and yeah, it's just epic soundtrack too. But it's kind of sad, it was just a really short fight. And then I ended here at the Grand Lift of Dectus, because I went back to Fort Faroth and I collected the other half of this medallion to finish it, and I realized I had gone through the Ruinstern Precipice, which is way harder than going through this Grand Lift. If I had known where the freaking other half was, that would have been a lot easier. But either way, I eventually have access to both, and after this I end up in Altus Plateau. So in the next video I'm going to do Altus Plateau plus Leyendell. I'm going to finish all of Caelid and maybe some other stuff, but mostly I'm going to focus on that stuff. So yeah, thanks for stopping by this video. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been able to do one of these, and I don't know how long it's going to take to do the next section. Thanks for stopping by, and I hope you enjoyed this one. Peace out. Bye.